love music, live sport. Let's hear it for the girls with Maureen McGonigle and Joe Ferry on RockSport Radio.
David Bowie there with China Girl. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Rock Sport Radio and it's Tuesday, so it's time once again for Let's Hear It for the Girls. I'm Joe Ferry and I'm joined as always by the lovely Maureen McGonigle as she flutters her eyelashes at the opposite side of the desk from me. And tonight I'm so glad to finally have her in the studio because it feels like we've talked about you non-stop. We are joined this evening by Hannah Rankin, who's professional boxer, currently ranked in the top 5 in the world by 3 of the governing bodies.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
I was going to...
It's a wee bit more than cool. It's amazing. Well done, Hannah.
Yeah, no.
I know, like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. It's like,
yeah, no, it's always a surprise to me when I hear it. You know, I'm just really proud to be there. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
You should be proud. We're proud of you. Well, thank you for joining us in the studio.
No problem.
Maureen, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Joe. It's lovely to be here and see your smiling face once again.
Always a pleasure, never a chore. And now she laughs. Maureen, why don't you start us off with the weekly roundup?
Well, why not? Why not start at beach volleyball? Because if you can imagine beach volleyball, you know...
In this weather?
The sun. Well, to be fair, you know, our beach volleyball players, when they train, have to be training in all weathers in Scotland.
Impressive.
But very luckily for Lynn Beattie and Mel Coots, it was a great start to 2019. They had some good wins in a hard-fought tournament in Denmark, where they came out as overall winners in the Danish national tour at Hafnia Hallen.
Ooh.
So, wow, despite being match points down in every match they played, they showed that they would never give up and they were delighted to come home with the win.
Brilliant.
So just as you were saying, you know, all their training is done at Portobello Beach at 5 o'clock in the morning. But it makes you hardy, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Just Scott's a wee bit hardy, so...
100%.
Yeah.
We literally just had a conversation about different training methods, and Hannah was talking about going into
an altitude chamber.
An altitude chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
you're not there, are you, Joe?
Absolutely not. We have people coming in every week, Hannah, trying to get us involved in their sport. You had to start with altitude.
The only altitude that Joe does is when she stands up on the step to get the top cupboard to get some chocolate out.
I know, and I still get a nosebleed. Life as a 5'2".
That's exercise up there.
Gal is a struggle,
get
Hannah.
That chocolate. So, again, another favourite of ours, because we do have an awful lot of favourites in this show, is Lisa Aitken from squash. And she took up a last-minute invite to participate in the US Tournament of Champions in Grand Central Terminal recently. And it was shown live on Squash TV. So Lisa came up short against the very talented number 3 seed. However, it was an absolute fabulous opportunity for her. And, you know, she was tweeting away quite the thing. It's great to be able to respond just like that to an opportunity. And I'm sure if you had an opportunity like that and somebody was saying, come out, all expenses paid, Hannah, you would be there.
I did it for my last fight, actually.
Yeah.
So
was
I
that
went
short
to America.
notice?
Yeah, it wasn't really, really short notice, but yeah, it was like 3 weeks before. So yeah,
Wow.
No, it was fantastic. And you know, when you get offered these chances, you just want to jump at them because you get to go and travel and do some amazing things. So,
Yeah, well,
Is it difficult for you then, Hannah, because, you know, if you're brought in at that, you know, short space of time, being particularly, you know, you've been talking to us a bit tonight about the extent that goes into your training ahead of any match, and it's not just physical training, it's your nutrition plans. You know, you have to do certain things to make sure, like, you're in the right weight category, and, you know, how hard is that then with 3 weeks' notice to...
Well, I was lucky for that one because I was training for a fight that was going to be the following week, you know, when I got the call. So actually I just extended my camp by a couple of weeks, but I'm never really out of camp. I'm always doing stuff. I'm keeping fit and healthy and keeping to like a relatively good diet, you know, except for after fights when I have a burger or something. But yeah, no, I do keep to a good sort of fitness regime. So I'm always really ready to go. And I think a lot of athletes are like that. We can't really sit still for very long. So we're all kind of always looking for the next opportunity and the next sort of challenge. So yeah, no, it's
But I think, to be fair, if if you relax for 2 weeks, you've got about 4 weeks' work to get back to where you were.
There is nothing worse than that. Like when you've been worked really hard and you've done a fight and stuff, and you've got to take that rest week, and you take the rest week or 2 weeks or whatever, and then you come back at it. The worst feeling in the world is like, I was the peak of fitness 2 weeks ago, and then I've had 2 weeks of doing nothing, and it's that horrible grind to get back to the level you were at before. And every single athlete will say it's not fun. It's miserable.
I'm just still focused on the part there where she says, I'll have a fight and then I'll have a burger. I'd be looking for endorsements from McDonald's, from Domino's. I'd be like, lay on me. I have not had any of this.
I promise you,
weeks.
I will eat it. Yeah.
Competitive eating, that should be mine then. I think we found my sport.
Let's move on to rugby. And Scotland women scored 4 tries but were ultimately edged out 29-24 by Spain in a recent warm-up for the Six Nations tournament. So for anyone who's interested to follow the team, they'll kick off their 2019 Six Nations tournament in Scotland against Italy in just 10 days' time. So again, a great opportunity to go out and support some Scottish sport.
Fantastic.
Basketball, well, it wasn't to be for Pride at the weekend. They were defeated by Nottingham Wildcats 88-59. So their attention now turns to the WBBL trophy, with home and away ties against Durham and Newcastle over the coming weeks. So good luck there, Pride. Come on, let's get some wins under the belts for 2019.
Definitely.
Picked this wee one up on Twitter, not too sure about it, tried to find out a bit more but couldn't. But Kirsten Maxwell, who is with Orienteering, was super happy to take the female win in a race way out of her comfort zone last weekend. In fact, the race they call Feel the Burns. So I'm not sure whether it's down in Ayrshire and it's a pun on Rabbie Burns, because also the hashtag was something to do with haggis.
Oh, okay.
But again, hard sport. Great result for Kirsten. And
I was really bad at orienteering. Like, we had to do it at school, and I was just really bad.
Did you get lost?
Yeah, always. I was always the team that got lost.
Oh dear. So we're going on to curling, and again, this is an interesting one. Eve Muirhead was a pivotal part in the win for Team World, with her winning shot against Rachel Holman at the 2019 WFG Continental Cup. So it was after a delay in deciding whether they had won or not. It was soon clarified when the benches emptied in celebration for the world team that the actual team knew they'd won. So that gives Team World their first Continental Cup win since 2012.
That's great.
And I'm thinking, curling's not too far. I mean, your dad, did he try his hand at curling?
No, my dad, he still curls now. And my granny, she used to curl a lot when I was younger too. And it's something I had to go at when I was a kid. And I quite enjoyed it. But you've got to be quite patient. And I'm not the most patient of people, but it's a lot of skill that goes into it. And it's a lot harder than it looks, So a lot of respect for curling, to be honest.
Have you ever heard about human curling?
No? Where's this going?
Well, we spoke about this last
Over to you, Maureen.
Yes. Well, John and I do get challenged most weeks by whoever's in to, have you tried our sport? Well, you should try it. We'll make sure you try it. And I found a sport that we could both do. And Eve Muirhead herself was actually demonstrating it. And it's a tube, like an inflatable tube, big enough for a human to get on. And a human jumps in the tube and aims himself at the target and goes down the rink. So we felt that perhaps we could do that.
Definitely.
We don't need to cut weight, give up anything. In fact, could probably eat your chocolate while you're on your tube.
I was going to say, how skillful would it be if I could eat my Dominoes as I slide down?
That would be amazing.
Hannah's going to be at my match this time. Be like, yes, Joe.
Get this visible picture as somebody standing at the side, instead of giving out water, they're handing you slices of Dominoes.
That's the dream, Maureen. That is the dream.
Oh, dear. I'm going to finish up this week's roundup with football, because it was the first preparation match for Shillicare and the Scottish women's national team, and they lost out to a strong Norwegian side in La Manga 3-1. The next game against Iceland was a disappointing loss for the Scots as well, but after a hard-fought encounter, the end result was 2-1. Having spoken to Shelley beforehand, she's keen to meet strong opposition. That's what she wants to do in the build-up to the World Cup.
And that's how you get better, you work with the best.
Exactly. And also I think, still quite a few players out. Shelley took the opportunity to experiment, playing 3 different formations, as well as having quite a number of players out through injury. She's happy with the performance overall and commented that she felt they'd learnt a lot from the past 2 games, and she also had answers to some of the questions she'd asked the squad. So obviously, it's listening, it's trying something different, and I'm just looking forward to it and delighted to see got my tickets organised. I'll be out supporting them in Nice.
Lovely.
In the summer. You can't ask for better than that, can you?
No, not really.
So it sounds like it's going to be great. So there's a few more games, I think, organised in the build-up to this, and hopefully, they get a wee result, because you, as well as playing against that opposition, you always need a little bit of a result as well, just to give you that impetus to go on. But that concludes the roundup from RockSport Radio on Tuesday, and I don't know the date. The 19th.
Well, what? It's
22nd.
It's the 22nd. Have you just lost like 3 days?
I'd rather lose £3, but if it's got to be 3 days, I'll lose 3 days. Right, Tuesday the 22nd.
Oh, good Lord! Let's give Maureen a wee break for a second,
yes,
will we?
let's go
and
to
then
a break.
we'll be back right after this.
Love music, live sport. Let's hear it for the girls with Maureen McGonigle and Joe Ferry on RockSport Radio.
Thanks for tuning in to Let's Hear It for the Girls on RockSport Radio. Maureen and I are delighted to have Hannah Rankin in the studio with us tonight. Hannah Rankin is a professional boxer, currently ranked in the top 5 in the world by 3 of the governing bodies.
Well, thank you.
Don't thank me. Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah.
That was all you.
Yeah.
So there's so many things to talk about with you tonight, because we actually talk about you a lot on the show, but there's so many things that even I've found out tonight that I didn't know, that I think people would love to know. Yeah. So let's get right into it. First of all, how did you actually get into boxing?
Well, when I was younger, I used to do taekwondo with my sister, and I really enjoyed that. I love combat sports, but when I started to get into my music, which is what I studied at uni, my mum was like, maybe you want to give that a miss, because it's kind of dangerous for your hands and stuff like that. So I stopped taekwondo and just went to do normal sports at school, like athletics and badminton and stuff. And then when I was doing my undergraduate at the Conservatoire in Glasgow, I wanted to get fit again, and like a bit of a secret, but I can't stand normal gym. I find it really boring. There's always like loads of equipment. I'm just like, oh, this is dull. So I got into Thai boxing. And when I moved to London to do my masters, I was doing some Thai boxing, and then I met my coach Noel Callan and Derek Williams, and really they got me into boxing, and I fell in love with the sport. And since then, I've been getting involved, and now ranked number 4 in the world. So really exciting.
That's incredible. And you've only been professional in the past 2 years, is that right?
Yeah.
So for the last 2 years to go to 4th in the world, that is insane.
Yeah, no, I'm quite a driven person. I'm a bit of a perfectionist as well, so I work really hard, and it's good that my coaches have the same sort of mindset, and we're both willing to push to get to where we want to be. So I'm constantly in the gym. He has to kick me out all the time, so it's good.
And you're on 2 kind of different ends of the spectrum here, because you actually just mentioned there that you did your degree in music, and that was at the Royal Conservatoire.
Yep.
And then you went on to do your masters in London.
Yes.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Hannah not only is a 4th in the world of boxing, she's actually a professional classical musician.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, when people think of the music that would play you out at a boxing match, and then the stuff that you would play yourself on stage, and the 2 differing crowds there, it's really very different.
Yeah, no, everyone goes, I don't understand how those 2 jobs go together, that's just a bit mental, and I'm like, well, I'm a bit mental, so that's okay. But
aren't we all?
Yeah, exactly. But with boxing and music, it's all about performing for me. So one of them, I'm on stage with an orchestra or doing some solo stuff in music world, and then in boxing it's just me and the other opponent, and it's a chance to perform in front of a big crowd, and that's exciting. The difference is the crowd from the musical lot, they're always very well behaved, they sit there nicely and they listen, whereas with the boxing lot, they're often shouting and screaming, and there's always someone yelling at the back, and it's a whole different sort of environment. But I really like it. I like both. It's great.
It's probably good that they're so different, so that they don't mix together, so you can totally focus on one and focus on the other. But the fact is, you've been so successful in both of them, which shows as an individual you can focus and you can do it.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, when I got into boxing, when I had my first boxing match, it really helped me with my music, because I used to get performance anxiety. So when I was doing like solo performing and stuff like that, you know, I used quite nervous before I went on stage. And after I'd done my first boxing match, it put everything into sort of perspective. You know, I'm going out to play the bassoon to an audience that really wants to listen to me, whereas in boxing, I'm going out to potentially get punched in the face with a really rowdy crowd there. And it made me think, actually, this is not as stressful as I thought it used to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, boxing really helped me with that, definitely.
Amazing.
You think it's quite a difficult route to take to find out that, you know,
Yeah.
this crowd that are there to watch you play your music are actually a supportive crowd? Because I suppose in boxing, you know, you've got your partisan crowd, really.
Oh, definitely.
It depends where you're boxing, whether you've got a good
Home
support.
crowd, or with you're against somebody in their own country and they've got the home crowd.
Yeah.
Both of the things are like with music and boxing. I think one of the things you can say is like, someone always said to me that I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I think that's why with music it can be quite stressful, because it's really emotional and you're trying to get people to understand how you feel and through the music. So that can be quite a personal thing. So sometimes that's quite nerve-wracking to like show that to everybody. But in the same sort of thing in boxing is like, you've got to have heart in boxing. You've got to feel strong and show everybody what you're good at and stuff. So those are kind of like a nice link between the two of them.
I was thinking, oh sorry Joe, I was just thinking there that bizarrely your music is more of a team performance.
Yeah.
Whereas your sport is more of an individual performance, and it's, you know, you would actually think normally things like that would be the other way around.
Someone said that to me actually, but with boxing, it's actually not that individual really, because you have a team that gets you to that point on fight night. So I have my coach Noel Callan, I have my cutman Richard Farnan, you know, I have my manager, I have Gary Jacobs as well working with the team, and you know, as a team they all get me to the point where I'm ready to fight, and I'm only around
where they leave you in the ring on your own.
But only for 2 minutes though. For 2 minutes you go out there, do your thing, but they're there when you come back. So it's definitely, I think people think it's very solitary, but actually for me it's very much about being part of a team and them helping you get to that point, you know. So it's just 2 minutes at a time that you're kind of on your own, but then you come back to them and they've always got a great idea, you know.
I was
do more
going
of this,
to ask
do
that,
more of
you know,
that.
when you go back and can you take these messages in, you know,
So Noel's always run a system with me where you know, I take 3 deep breaths when I get back to the corner, and whatever you're stressed about, whatever you're doing, you can't actually be stressed after you've taken 3 deep breaths. So whatever the situation is and you're worried about this, you just take 3 deep breaths and you can kind of focus in. But it's a real training sort of thing, and it's something that I do all the time. I'll tell you a bit of a funny story. So for my final recital at the academy, I got Noel to come in to run my recital kind of like a boxing match. So I had him outside off stage, so that in between each piece I came off, I took 3 deep breaths with him, had a little chat, calmed myself down, went back in and performed, then came back and spoke to him again in between pieces. And it was the best performance I've ever done, best recital. It really was.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's very clever to think that, isn't it?
I know.
To think to mix them, and that's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, no, he had a fun time. He'd never been to a bassoon recital before, so it was something different for him as well, you know. So, yeah, it was good. He's great like that. He always thinks outside the box and comes up with new ideas. So, yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. And I was interested to hear, because you mentioned a wee while ago your mum had said when you were younger and you'd started doing like taekwondo and things, she was like, you know, you need to be careful because you need to protect your hands and you need to protect your mouth, obviously. That's the very 2 things that you use for your music are the very 2 things at risk in any fight.
Yeah, definitely.
So how has that kind of panned out? How do you kind of safeguard both, I guess, and for, you know, for the sake of both professions?
Jobs, so when I first started, I said to Noel, look, I'm a professional musician, so my hands and my mouth are the most important things. So I always get my hands specially wrapped. I get like effectively fight wraps done every 2 or 3 weeks, and it's extra padding on your knuckles, and it's more than most people have, but it just gives me a little extra support. Also, when I first started, I learned quite good defence first of all, so that I wasn't getting extra shots here, and I have a really good gum shield, so it's an incentive for me to defend myself, you know, because I need these to help me, especially in my mouth. I can't play if I've got a fat lip or cut my lip or something like that, so got to be careful. But he's always been really good at like getting extra padding and looking after my hands, so yeah, touch wood, not had any problems.
I'm furiously looking for a piece of wood. I'm like,
No, so we're fine in here. We're fine in here. I think it must have. So, how did they contact you in terms of taking you on, or were you looking for a manager or whatever? How did that come about?
In boxing, so I was actually doing Thai boxing, and then I met Noel and Derek, and they were taking the boxing classes because I was doing it for fitness. I wasn't doing it professionally or anything like that. I was actually doing it because I found it interesting, and I wanted to do some white collar fights. That's a fight that anybody could do it in an office, and it's 3 2-minute rounds. You wear big gloves and head guards, and people like to do it to raise money for charity. So I was doing that. And then I found that I was running out of opponents. And I turned up one night for a fight, and my opponent just didn't turn up. And that was kind of like the final straw. And I said to Noel, I was like, right, I want to go take this further. I still want to compete. What can I do? So you can either go down the amateur route, which means you join an amateur boxing club and you go through that, and people go to the Olympics from there. Or you can go down the professional route. And I was like, right, so can you still be my coach if I go down the amateur route? And he was like, no, because I'm a professional coach. So I was like, right, well, I want to go pro then. And that was my decision. And that's how I ended up going into professional boxing.
And I think, we were chatting earlier, I think both Joe and I think, well, professional, well, that sounds quite cushy. You go out and you do this and you get paid loads of money.
And it's a very different reality. Like, I had it basically kind of, it comes up pretty much every show, I'd say, Maureen, the subject of funding and sponsorship, and within in any sport really, but particularly with females within sport. And I had no concept of the way that funding worked within boxing and how you have to put that together. So, and I was absolutely shocked when you told me. So explain to our listeners then.
Well, so because I don't have like a set promoter yet, so as a professional, you try to end up getting a promoter, so you get to be on their shows and that sort of thing. I'm lucky when I come up to Scotland, my manager Sam Kinnock, I'm on his shows when I'm back here because he's my manager and it's good for me to be on these shows here, so that's great. But elsewhere, I have to pay to be on the show, so you're looking at about £1,000 to the house to actually be allowed to box before you do anything else. And then after that, you've got to cover your opponent's costs, so their purse, their flights, their accommodation. So it's not just them, it's them and their team that come with them. That's all got to be paid for. And the way that you cover that normally is with your ticket costs, so your ticket sales. That's why you always see boxers, you think we're banging on about it, but it's like, please buy our tickets, please buy tickets to come and see us, because we actually need the money to pay for our opponents and stuff like that. So quite a few of my fights where I've been the home fighter, I've actually earned no money, because if I haven't been able to cover the cost for ticket sales, I've had to find some sponsorship to help me, or I've had to pay for it myself, or my team's paid to get me into the position where I can actually fight. So it can really stall your career if you can't actually fight. You can't actually go anywhere if you don't get these opportunities. So I think it's really important that people know that, when we're trying to sell tickets, we'd love your support and help to pay for our opponents and things.
Well, when they understand that it's not just about, the night out and supporting you, it's actually about enabling you to continue.
To actually take part in sport.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, yeah, it's quite difficult. So, there's a lot of things to pay for. And the problem with being a female boxer in this country is that there's just not enough of us. If you're a boy, you can call a guy down in Durham or down in Southampton. He'll just get a train up. You pay for his train travel and you pay him a purse, and that's it. Whereas with girls, most of the girls, there's not enough of us for us to fight each other in the UK. So we have to get all of our opponents from at least Europe. And of course, that's the cost of a flight. That's like 3 flights, accommodation for 3 people, plus her purse. So the money per round and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a lot more expensive than it is for the boys.
But it was a slightly different story last year when you went to the US.
Yes.
Was it Clarissa?
Yeah, I was fighting Clarissa Shields for the Unified Middleweight Championship of the World. And I was the opponent then. So my team got paid to go out. I got paid a purse. I got paid to fight for that situation. But then when people think, oh yeah, you earned loads of money to go and fight for that. But if I'd been a man and I'd been fighting for the Unified Middleweight Championship of the World, I would have been earning millions. At least hundreds of thousands, but there was nowhere near that for me. And the money I earn, you got to finally pay your team. They're the people that get you there, so that's the first time you pay them. You pay your manager, and then you've got to pay back all the people that you might have borrowed money from, or like to get your training camp done. You've got to pay for all of that stuff, and then taxes abroad and things like that. So actually, at the end of it, you're not left with very much at all.
It just takes you back to a level playing field, really?
Pretty much, yeah. You cover all the debts that you've accrued getting to that point. But yeah, if I'd been a guy, I could have earned like $1 million, more than that.
But I suppose when you when you look at it, you need to kind of think about the positives and say, okay, so, you know, what do you then, you know, obviously if it's not a monetary thing, you've went over there, you've had the chance to go and fight, and the exposure of that fight was
was amazing for me.
That was incredible.
It's hugely, I've got so many more supporters, and my followers have gone up on my social media. I have lots of support in America now, which is amazing. And also it was on Sky Sports, so it was a chance for people to actually see me fight. So I would have done it again for less, you know, but it's like...
You know, but I think, you know, given time, we're looking at, you know, recently the World Tour of Scotland, the new cycle race that's come for women, they're going to pay in the same money, and the LPGA have just announced a tournament that's the same money. So things will change in boxing, Hannah, whether you'll go up to the millions or not. But I think, you know, you'll find the purse will increase, you know, year by year, if not quicker than that.
I think so. And I think also now that, you know, TV companies are being more, like, positive about having women on air, you know, because before it was just, you just couldn't get the women's fights onto TV. And how are you meant to build your fan base? How are you meant to grow, like, the people that you're going to pay per view to come and watch you or anything like that, or get ticket sales if they can't see you? So, you know, it's kind of like that catch-22. It's like you want more people to come and watch it, but not enough people are coming to watch it, but you don't know they're not coming to watch it. So it's a bit frustrating, but I think we are slowly getting there.
I think as well, one of the kind of main positives about this is you're a strong role model for other girls getting into this, and like you've already said, there's just not enough opponents for you.
No.
And hopefully with your influence then as well, like there will be more people coming into the sport, and you know, some people might come into it for purely for fitness, for fun, as a hobby, but it's just that idea that if you're bringing more people into a sport, there's more potential to be more opponents, and for then the more opponents there are for people, the more the sport's going to flourish, especially in Scotland, but across the UK.
I definitely think that. And also, like, you know, when I teach boxing classes in London, and I have a lot of girls come to the class, and I found when I was doing boxing for the first time, I really found that it increased my confidence. You know, it made me super fit and healthy and stuff, but also I just felt, as a woman walking around London late at night, I felt more confident in myself. I wasn't going out to start fights, I just felt like, you know, I could handle myself, and I felt stronger and I felt fitter, and boxing is a great way to do that, you know, and increase confidence. And I think it's actually a great sport as well. There's so many technical sides to it, and you can get like really engrossed in it. And what I love about it is that with boxing you can't learn everything. There's always someone's going to have a different style, someone's going to have a different technique, and the person in front of you on fight night is always going to be doing something different that you're not expecting. So it's like a constant like learning thing all the time, and that's why I love it, you know.
And so how did you feel then going to the US, and what was that like as a learning experience then, to go over there and experience that, you know, even the way they promote, the way that the fighters bring themselves across and their technique? And
it was an amazing experience. I learned so much about myself, and also, like, you know, you have to go and do lots of, you know, press conferences. You have to stand up there and speak in front of loads of people, loads of cameras going off, people recording you, filming you. It's going live out on Sky Sports, and like you have to take a step back and just be like, wow, this is crazy, you know.
Take those 3 deep breaths.
Yes, 3 deep breaths. But I found, like, I used to not enjoy public speaking, but I find when I'm boxing, it's like my boxing persona. So, you know, I'm much more calm about it. I get things across I want to say, and I've learned to slow down my speaking a little bit, you know, and that's definitely helped me. It was... it's a lot of razzmatazz when I was over there, and also for a big fight like that, there's so many more rules and regulations, and you've got extra people signing your raps, and you've got to go and make sure that you're weighing in at this point, and then you've got to do a face-off with your opponent, and it's all really dramatic and stuff like that. So you've got to be confident in yourself, and also make sure you're showing that you're confident and everything.
But that's building up the experience for the supporter.
Yeah.
And, you know, for anyone in Scotland that would like an opportunity to see you in action, I mean, one of the reasons that you're here tonight is because you're up in Scotland preparing for a match on Friday.
Friday night,
the 25th.
Yeah, Burns night.
That's not bad, is it? Friday the 25th.
Don't act like you knew the date. You've probably wrote it in front of you. Or better yet, Hannah did it for you, because you're incapable of telling us what day or week it is at this point.
So it's slightly different from being in the US. And I would take it there's no coverage? Anyone picked this up yet?
No coverage for this one yet, no. I think Sam Kinnock, my manager, he's working on various ideas about getting more of the shows up here promoted on air so people can actually watch them. But yeah, no, I'm fighting on Friday night at the Crown Plaza Hotel, and it's a dinner show, so it includes like a 3-course Burns meal, and there's a drinks reception, and there's like so many fights on the card, and you can come watch it. I, of course, am the only girl on the card.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah, it sounds like a great night out, but
it'd be really good.
The tickets still available?
There are tickets still available if you contact me on my social media, so on Twitter or on Instagram, it's all team_Rankin. Obviously, I think it will be able to find it online as well as on my professional page. I had an advert out recently, so if you do want to come along, do contact me.
I'm sure if anybody's struggling to contact Hannah, they could contact the station and they would pass on the details.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great night out actually, and it's a lot of my friends who haven't necessarily known anything about boxing or music have come along to fights before, and they're like, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy it, and actually they're like, oh no, really get into it, really involved, and supporting, and when you know somebody there, it's even more exciting.
Better. Who's your opponent?
Her name's Eva Balchek. She's the former IBF world champion, so it's a good fight for me. I'm looking forward to it. It's a chance for me to showcase my skills and showcase some of the things I've learned from my last fight. I think it's going to be great. I'm really excited.
And we were talking earlier on about the preparation to this. I think one of the interesting things is that you've been working with UWS because you were obviously named as one of the finalists in the Swiss Awards, UWS Sportswoman of the Year. So that's when we first met up with you.
Yeah, definitely.
But that was a great connection to meet because you were using some of their... Do they have a chamber like you're using?
Yeah. So I was speaking to Professor Richard Davison, and they've got a new sort of... It's like an altitude chamber, or like what's the word I'm looking for? A climate kind of thing. So it changes different things. So it can change like the heat and the cold and stuff like that as well. So, but when I'm training in there, I'm using it to do sprints, and the altitude chambers put at like 15% oxygen. So when I'm in London, I train in one of those, and it makes your body work harder. I know you're shaking your head at me.
Honestly,
Joe is having a lie down at this moment.
I could not think of anything. Instantly in my mind, I'm going 15% oxygen. Half the time, me and Maureen can't even breathe in this studio. It's that warm, and you're like, yeah, I'm doing hill sprints. And I'm like.
But it's actually really, really good for fitness because when you're in there, it's hard work. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard work, and you're pushing your body to the max. And the more you work in there, I used it for the Clarissa Shields fight, and it meant that I just felt so fit. I wasn't even remotely kind of like worried about my fitness at all. I went in there and just felt like I could do anything, and when I'm training in there, I push myself, and it also helps when you're trying to cut weight as well, because when you come out of there, your metabolism works faster for longer, so you burn through more things, which is great. If you want to cut weight, go and have a run, and then
Now Maureen's staring at me wide-eyed across the table going, is this our way to lose weight?
It's hard work though, definitely.
How many crunches, and I'm talking about the chocolate bar, not crunches, could we have after that one?
I've just assigned myself to the fact that I'm getting lipo. I'm not participating in an altitude chamber.
It sounds a bit like a torture chamber.
It does.
But it's good for you because it helps you achieve the results you want to achieve without having to go to all these different places to do them.
Definitely, and I think it's something that really helps improve people's fitness. People can see an improvement in their own fitness just in 2 weeks' time, and I'm really happy that the Altitude Centre in London have come on board to sponsor me. So they have me there for free, and I have 2 sessions a week in there, and it's just been really, really good, and my cardio level has just gone through the roof. So I'm really, really great sponsorship from them.
And
excellent.
You've got a few little sponsors there, but you're waiting to land the big one that can support you.
Yeah.
Would it be great to have a Scottish company do that?
Oh, I'd love to have a Scottish company on board. Yeah, it'd be amazing, because obviously my goal this year is to become Scotland's first female world champion.
Oh wow, we're behind that one, aren't we?
Oh, amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it'd be really exciting. I think it's something I can achieve this year. Really focused on that. So, I just need a bit of financial support, because the cost of training, I'm training 2 or 3 times a day when I'm training for fights and things, and it's just living costs and also training costs, and then you've got your medicals. You've got to have an MRI scan once a year to get your license. It's just a vast amount of money. So, I've put up a crowdfunding page. something that I learned about when I was in America, actually. In America, a lot of the top level athletes have used crowdfunding to help them get to where they need to be to compete at an elite level. And I thought, well, I know we're not normally like that in the UK. We don't normally ask for help. It's not something we do normally. I just thought, well, I'm going to give it a go. And I've actually had some great response on there already from people who have come on board to help me get places. And just like any help is really welcome. And it's a really nice feeling that people want to support you.
How does crowdfunding work? So is it a finite amount of time that you can have this open?
So the website has various things. So I think mine's open for like 90 days, but I think you can extend it after that period, but you have to run it for that amount of time, and then you put in a figure, so they give you suggested figures to like work towards. And in that, people can like donate as little or as much as they want, and I've had some companies get involved in contact with me to say, we'd like to sponsor you, can we put our company logo on your kit and things like that. So that's a way that I'm happy to work with companies as well, because it gets them great sort of like coverage, especially the last one I was on Sky Sports, so those logos were all over TV, so it's great advertisement for companies. So if you want to get on board,
yeah, absolutely.
They do get in touch. Yeah.
And so you've got your home support this coming Friday then.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about that? You feeling ready for that one?
Do you know what? Like, it's amazing to box at home in front of like your family and friends, and just at home. Your home country is a great place to be when you're competing in any sport, I think. But it always comes with that little added extra nerves because it's at home, like whereas when you're abroad, you're like, you don't know these people, so you're fighting away from home. But back here, I feel like, I'm fighting in front of like my people, and people that I want to showcase my abilities to the best I can and just really do a great performance for everybody. So, I'm really excited about it, but I'll be buzzing on fight night.
And see, this is what I'm wondering, on the flip side of this, what do your friends and family feel about it? Because I feel like if you were my sister and you were up boxing, I would have to be like watching it through my hands. I think I'd have a nervous breakdown watching, and not through lack of faith, just purely through it's when it's somebody and you're like, they're getting hit in the face. Like, what do you do?
I've got two younger sisters. One of them, Emma, she's out in Australia, and she's still to come and see me box. She hasn't had a chance to come to one of my live fights yet, but she's always like supporting me from over there. But like if she was here, I do wonder whether or not she'd get in the ring, because she's quite, she'd protect me. But then Alice as well, she's quite the same, and she comes to all my fights too, and she'll be here on Friday. She's the youngest, but she like looks for her fingers, she gets nervous for me. But one of the most important things to me is that my dad and my fiance, Mike, they come to all my fights. So it doesn't matter where it is in the world. They came to Kansas for the last fight.
Amazing.
And they're like travel buddies now. And Mike says that my dad takes his glasses off during the fight, so I don't think he can see all the finer details of everything, but I think he's really proud of me, and to have two like the important men in my life supporting me is really great, actually.
That's a good story, isn't it? Yeah.
And also you mentioned something earlier on about your dad and you being quite tactical about your fights. You don't see dad before the fight?
No, I don't see any of my family or my fiance before the fight, because I'm getting in the zone. I'm fully focused on what I'm trying to do, and obviously I'm quite grumpy as well, because I'm hungry, because I'm trying to make weight.
Hangry.
And, I'm hangry. Hangry is a big one.
If anybody's not aware of what that term means, it's being raging because you're hungry.
Hungry and angry.
Yeah,
angry.
Exactly. But also, I'm focused on, boxing is a combat sport after all, and you're going to punch each other. So I don't really want to see my family and people who that like want to take care of me before that, because it kind of puts me off my stride. So I always see them after the fight, always, and I always get a big hug from my dad after the fights, and from Mike as well. And it's great. But beforehand, I just keep myself to myself, and I get my head in the zone, fully focused.
So it seems like, the past year and a half or 2 years since you've been doing this, you've actually had to learn an awful lot about yourself and about the sport.
Definitely. It's been a steep learning curve.
Yeah. What have you learned about yourself?
I've learned that I'm actually a lot more confident about public speaking and also about being in front of people than I thought I was. I never used to be that confident. I think boxing has brought that sort of confidence out in me, and it's allowed me to kind of explore a whole new world, because I often go and give some like talks to various like law firms and to banking companies as well about women empowerment, and also to just talk about what I do and as a sports person and as a musician. And it's something I never thought I would do. So that's been a real kind of a nice eye-opener, actually. And it's something that I enjoy doing now, which is great. Also had to learn to be even more organised. I'm very lucky that my coach is like incredibly organised. Noel is like the person that will phone me, say, have you phoned this person, or have you done this? Have you taken your protein now? But having him has helped me to become more organised, because when you're with music, it doesn't matter that I haven't had dinner when I should have had dinner. I've just got to continue practicing. It's not a problem. Whereas in boxing, if I haven't had my protein at this time, it can affect my recovery. So I need to make sure I'm doing things at the right time of the day and doing that sort of stuff. So that's been a bit of a learning curve for sure.
Yeah, I think, speaking earlier on and talking about, you're cutting weight and you're cutting down fluids, and it's having to understand, how you're going to feel, because if you don't understand that, then you think there's something wrong with you. So you're fully knowledgeable now in all the aspects here.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something that can apply to anybody. So anybody who's dieting or trying to lose weight, one diet does not fit all. That is like a fact. And I have a lot of friends who say, oh, can we do the same diet that you're doing to lose weight? And I'm like, if you ate the same amount of food that I do during training, you get really fat, because I eat so much food and I do like 3 times the amount of exercise that most people do. And also I learned that for me, like, I don't have any dairy, I don't have any wheat when I'm training, because these things cause me to find it difficult to lose weight. So but it took me a long time to do that, and it's trial and error. And I think for anybody who's trying to lose weight, it's definitely trial and error. But obviously for boxing, it's a big part of it. So you have to make a weight at a certain time on a certain day. And that's a thing to learn about.
That's actually difficult to kind of stick to as well, because I wouldn't say it's your day job, because you're basically kind of half and half between boxing and music. But with music, you do tuition and you do private lessons and you teach. So that must be quite difficult as well to maintain when you're maybe teaching at certain times and then you're like, I need to take my protein now. And so how do you kind of
I think
factor that in?
Definitely, it's one of those things where I have to make sure that I'm keeping fully hydrated. So with music, I find that there's breaks. If you're in a rehearsal, you do like 1 till 3 o'clock, and then you have a break, and then you work on till 6 o'clock. Whereas I'm used to eating like every 2 hours, so like that can kind of cause a bit of a problem, because I can't eat and play the bassoon. You're spitting food down your instrument. You just can't do that. So I try to make sure that I've got like liquids with me, so that I can have a drink, and also to get up and stretch in between pieces. They actually encourage musicians to do that anyway, because we're terrible for getting like back problems and stuff because we sit for so long. But it's something I have to do to make sure my body doesn't seize up and things like that, But it is hard, and I try and schedule my teaching so that I don't miss meals or I don't go over my time slots. And a lot of my kids know that I've got to have a protein shake at this time, or I've got to drink this. So they don't mind. It's just in their lesson time. It doesn't matter. But most of the time I try and organise it so that I'm not doing that,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Amazing.
I'm just thinking, like, there'll never be like a Saturday morning where you're waking up and think, I wonder what I'll do with today, because today would be all scheduled, because you have to eat at the same time, you have to do and it's a way of life, and you're loving it. But the ambition to be the world champion, I mean, Scotland should be getting behind you for that one, because I think the way you're speaking here, you've got this focus that you kind of believe that you're going to do it.
Yeah, no, it's my sole goal at the moment, and like it's exactly all I want to do is reach that and become a world champion, because I believe I can, and I've got the team around me that can achieve this, and it's something that I'm just driven to do. That's all I want to become, is a world champion. So if I become world champion in boxing, I will be extremely happy, and I'll have achieved my goal. And those are the thing, once you become world champion, you can look at becoming a unified world champion and stuff like that. But to become world champion is an amazing thing in any sport. But it's my goal, and it's what drives me, especially at the moment when I'm hungry and I'm tired and, all those sort of things. But, yeah, and also when you get to a Saturday and actually you can't just go out with your mates and you can't just hang out and go out for dinner with your fiancé and stuff. Like, I'm going to say here, massive shout out to my fiancé, Mike, because he has the patience of a saint, and it's been a really steep learning curve for him as well. because me going in to become a professional athlete is something that was never really on the cards.
Well, you've been together for so long, so what, about 13 years?
Yeah,
and
grew up together.
For 11 of those years, he thought he knew Hannah.
Yeah, exactly.
Then 2 years ago, did he get a shock?
He definitely got a shock. So it's been a real steep learning curve for him. He's had to learn about like the mood swings when I'm hungry, and also that I need to eat all the time, and I just eat more than I ever used to eat, and I can't always. I can't stay up super late. I need to get my sleep in so I can recover when I'm in camp and things like that. So when we have downtime, I really appreciate it, and I know he appreciates it. But to have his support to get me to the top is something special. So big shout out to him, really.
Oh,
can I ask, did either your dad or your fiance or anyone in your family try to talk you out of going into boxing?
No, well, because when I phoned my dad, because Noel said to me, my coach, he said, right, so you've got to ask the people, like, you've got to ask your dad and your fiancé what they think of you turning professional as a boxer. And it's not because we're, like, archaic and we think you need your dad's permission or something. At the end of the day, you're daddy's little girl. Regardless of whatever happens, you're always going to be his little girl. And your fiancé is the person that's going to be marrying you, and he's going to see you with bruises, and he's got to deal with the fact that if you have a black eye, people might think, badly of him. So you've got to ask them. And when I phoned my dad was like, I told him everything, and he's very my dad is very like sort of just calm. He's a calm person, and he just thinks everything through. And he said, I think you've thought it through, haven't you, Hannah? And you've made a decision, haven't you? And I was like, yeah, I really want to do it. I want to be a professional boxer. And he said, well, on you go then, and on you go.
That's
I'll
brilliant.
be here to support you. Don't mistake it. It's going to be hard. You've got a lot of work to put in. It's not going to be easy, and it's a tough sport. And I want to make sure you're getting the best out of it. And you want to push yourself. I know that, but you've got to think about yourself as well. So think of your health and all these sort of things. But I'll support you. And Mike said the same thing. He's like, both of me and your dad know you're 100% headstrong, very independent, and your mum and dad brought you up to be independent, so you're going to do it anyway, regardless. So I think we want to support you in it, and that was a great thing, really.
that's brilliant. As soon as you said that there, when you said, they said to me to say to my fiancé and my dad, and I've literally met you this evening, and I'm like, none of them could have told her not to do that. There's not a chance.
But then the other side of the coin, Joe, as Hannah was saying, that, people looking at her if she does come off with a black eye and having suspicion about a fiancé. I mean, that's a thing that he would have to deal with as well, and it's good to get that out in the open to say that, these things may happen, let's be aware of it, let's not, sugarcoat it.
The worst thing is if you're sitting on the tube when I'm in London and, I've got like a small sort of black eye, and I'm sitting there with Mike beside me, and people giving him evils, and I feel like I need a T-shirt that says, I'm a professional boxer, it's not his fault.
I think that's the answer, Hannah.
Yeah, because the assumption is, though, and it's terrible that should be the case, but, people, you just don't see people with that. But whereas when you see a guy with a black eye, you just think, he's been fighting. And that's just, he's just been in a fight. Whereas if you see a girl, it must be some sort of domestic abuse or something.
Yeah.
So that's frustrating. But Mike is very laid back about it, and he's just like, if someone asks me, we can just tell them it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it has been a fascinating conversation. I knew we were going to hear some amazing things, but that was just unreal. So, Hannah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me
this evening. And so, the next time we speak to you, then you're going to be the first Scottish.
I just feel that you
boxing world champion, female boxing world champion.
Something's going to happen, and happy to give you every support we can here, and wish you all the best for Friday. I'm so sorry I can't make it with a Burns night in Scotland.
I know,
but we'll be desperately watching Twitter to see how you got on.
I'll keep you all updated.
Oh, absolutely.
Please do. Someone will be doing your social media for you. I take it.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So. Team Rankin is the team to follow.
Team Rankin.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us, and keep in touch. Everybody be supporting Hannah this coming Friday night at the Crown Plaza. And thank you again for tuning in to Let's Hear It for the Girls on RockSport Radio. Maureen and I will be back with you next Tuesday, as usual. But next up, it's Hannah's song.
Yep, we're going to have, traditionally, Eye of the Tiger by Survivor.
love music, live sport. Let's hear it for the girls with Maureen McGonigle and Joe Ferry on RockSport Radio.